Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be the much awaited Strikeout Rogue tier list. This is a tier list completely designed about what is good currently within the game in terms of the Strikeout meta. If you do go on to enjoy the video or you just want to see daily, educational, Rogue company content, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. But for now, let's get into it. So as you guys know, I'm normally focused around demolition, but you guys really want to see a Strikeout tier list. That is what I'm going to bring you here today. The Strikeout game mode is orientated much more around good gunplay, mechanics, survivability, and positioning, rather than the strategic element of demo and the utility that comes along with that. Therefore, in this tier list, we're going to see rogues who are really good at winning 1v1s, who are really good at using utility to their advantage or their survivability to kill multiple people and win the rounds for your teams. If you are primarily a demolition player, I do always recommend playing Strikeout. In fact, I have a video on the channel showing exactly why and how I think Strikeout can be used to help your gameplay as it's helped mine, and you can check that video out here on the channel. Or if you're a Strikeout player and you're looking at getting into demo, maybe check out my demolition tier list so you know who's good in the demolition game mode. Just one small note, I will be factoring some of the balancing changes that we know are going to be coming to the game very soon in this tier list, but I'll explain them as I talk about the rogues who have those small changes. For now though, let's get into the video. I'm going to start off with Anvil. Anvil's LMG allows him to hold down a position really well, and when it comes to Strikeout and holding that point, that can be really useful. He can put the shield up to give you additional cover and then put 90 bullets down range to absolutely tear through approaching attackers who are trying to reclaim that bomb site in Strikeout. He has a fantastic set of perks to help with his survivability in terms of tenacity, headstrong, and life drain, which are all really great, and he actually probably has the best perk set within the game, but he doesn't really do that much beyond sitting there holding down a lane, and he's very easily outgunned by other weapons that can just deal with some of those ranges a bit better, whether it be an SMG up close, an AR at mid-range, or even a sniper at the longest ranges or DMR. The LMG, whilst good and can really put down lead, isn't necessarily that amazing compared to the other weapons. He is getting a small change in the next update where his second upgrade of his weapon will give him penetration rounds, meaning he can actually collateral people with his LMG, so he can hit multiple people with the same bullet, which is actually going to make him really good, I think, at holding down his Strikeout a little bit better. So he is bumped up a little bit in this tier list for that reason, and he's going to be sitting in the B tier. Next up is going to be Chaac. Now, Chaac is a duelist, and duelists will always do really well in Strikeout because they're designed to win fights, and that is pretty much all that Strikeout's about. Chaac particularly is very good. He has an SMG that can beam up close range and has amazing hip fire. He has life drain and replenish, two perks that benefit you from getting it down and help you move from target to target. And just in case you need help with that 1v1 or 1v2, he has his ability Stim Pack, which helps him get additional health or self-revive should he need it. These are all amazing pieces of utility and equipment and perk set that make him really strong in a game mode like Strikeout where it's all about fragging, and for this reason he's going to be up in the A tier. Dahlia comes up next, and you'd think that the support playstyle wouldn't really benefit something like Strikeout, but in Dahlia's case specifically, with the range of passives she can link to make herself strong, she can really vary in this tier list between linking to a really good rogue and being really high up, or linking to a not so good rogue and ending kind of low down the tier list. If you want to know the best links to Dahlia currently within the game, you can go check out that video that I have on the channel going over them, and that might be really useful to help you sort of pinpoint which ones are better for you. However, generally if we take Dahlia in as a rogue and the most likely link she'll link to in the game, she's actually pretty strong and a really necessary medic. That lifeline revive in something like Strikeout, where every life matters towards the tickets, is really key. So I'd always recommend having some sort of healer, but Dahlia for this sort of game mode, I think personally is better just because of the speed of the res you can get off. She does suffer in the weapon department. The objection and MXR are not that strong right now. The objection can be paired with Lancer. It can actually be a really good weapon to slay and get some kills, but it's not necessarily the most reliable. However, that has not stopped her being pretty high up in this tier list, as she is going to fall into the A tier. Dallas comes up next as one of the rogues who I think is amazing in the game if you are accurate with his shots. However, this high skill cap does lead to a lot of players not being able to use them very effectively, and he's pretty unforgiving with those weapons. He can get outgunned really easily, and when he's put under pressure by something like an SMG, he will suffer unless you are very good with the Devotion or HRM, which most of the player base I do not think is. The reveal itself is pretty nice, and actually in the next update it is going to be reduced from a 6-second reveal to a 3-second reveal, which in the context of Strikeout I'm actually going to say is a benefit and a buff, because it means you can snap quicker onto the next target. A big pet peeve I have is snapping somebody, killing them, and not being able to snap again immediately because I have to wait for the timer of the original snap to wear down. With the reduced timer of it, it should roll a little bit quicker, and it's a minor buff, although I think overall, especially in demo, it's going to be a nerf. Despite him having an Incendiary Grenade and a pretty decent perk set, I am going to put him down in the B tier because I think his skill ceiling is just a little bit too high for a fast-paced game mode like Strikeout. Dima comes in next as our high explosive expert, and he does do pretty well in Strikeout. His kit generally is pretty good. The K30 is a nice weapon, the Mamba pretty good itself, not the top of their class, but fairly competitive in those mindsets. He has the Merv launcher, which can do a massive damage, and the grenades. He's also, in the next update, getting a change to his perks where Replenish is being swapped out for Resupply. So when he downs people, he can get further weapons and grenades to then go on and continue to blow people up, which for Dima is really, really good, and Resupply tends to be a very, very good perk in the Strikeout setting. For me though, there's something just lacking with Dima. Potentially it's his survivability. He does have bounce back and life drain, but it doesn't feel like it enough. I feel like he just gets outgunned in the majority of situations because those weapons just aren't as good as the higher contenders, and he can't really deal with SMGs as well. For me though, I'm going to put him down in the B tier, although he is kind of hovering towards that A tier a little bit. Fixer comes in next, and generally for me, snipers do not do that well in Strikeout unless you are absolutely insane. It's kind of that same high skill ceiling as someone like Dallas, but I think it's a little bit more punishing with someone like Fixer, who can only have 2 shots in that sniper. The smoke grenade and ability combo can be really good at helping his survivability and just stall for time or shoot people who are unaware of his location. The C4 of course is a great piece of equipment as well. His perk set is not too bad either, with headstrong and life drain to him as well, same as Anvil, but generally I think that he does suffer a little bit in the weapon department for a game mode as fast paced as Strikeout, where SMGs are going to run wild and duelists are going to have better equipment and perk sets to help deal with him. Therefore I'm going to put him down in the C tier of this tier list. Glitch is up next, and Glitch's ability is practically useless in Strikeout. Unless you come against a Trench, which is very, very rare, or an Anvil shield that you really want to break, the hack is not that useful, unless of course you're going for this wide flank and you want to use it for intel like I've talked about on the channel before, which is viable. I still don't think he's the most useful. The LMPX though is a great weapon, and with the Semtex and Flashbang he does have great utility in that sense, with a really nice perk set to complement that as well. However, I just don't think as a rogue he does anything special. Basically with a non-impactful ability, it's kind of like, why would you really pick him over someone like Talon, who is a lot better in that sense? And therefore, for me, he falls down into the C tier. Kestrel is up next, and Kestrel runs absolutely wild in Strikeout. She is so tailored towards this game mode, from everything from her survivability to her weapon to her perk set. She's an absolute beast. She has the strongest weapon in the game in my opinion, which is a Riptide, which still needs continuous nerfs because of how strong it is. She has stim shots to help with her survivability, bounce nades, and if she gets rid of all of those because she's used it slaying out, she then also has resupply to gain additional ones, and she is such a good fragger, such a good duelist, and the ability itself can really flush people out of position or get nice easy kills and thirsts to help towards the enemy's tickets going down. Not to mention, because Strikeout is all about getting downs, her passive is just implemented so much more. She has so much more additional income, and it just helps her snowball effect of continuously running rampant around Strikeout maps. And for me, with all this combined, she's going to fall into the S tier of this tier list. Lancer comes in next as the queen of Strikeout. She absolutely slays. The fast-paced game mode means people are not always very aware of their flank, which gives Lancer ample opportunity to get those off using her quick and quiet ability. She also has an SMG that is tailor-made for something like Strikeout, which can do really well up close and sort of combat the sort of mid-ranges as well, in case she gets into a few scraps. She does have a Semtex and a smoke grenade should she want to use that form of utility, but the key for Lancer and why she's so strong is her passive Elusive, which means she can roll reload. That paired with life drain means she has infinite bullets and infinite health as long as she's tearing through targets, and this is why you see so many Lancers going 4 pieces or more, because they can just roll through the enemy team and always have continuous ammo and health to do that. For me, and it's no doubt for you, Lancer is going to fall into the S tier of this Strikeout tier list. Phantom comes up next, and Phantom kind of needs a little bit of explaining because there's 2 playstyles with Phantom. You either go the sniper route or you go the Nightshade route. If you go the Nightshade route, it's an absolutely amazing weapon. Pair that with life drain in itself and her general perk set, grenades and sticky sensors to watch the flank. She is absolutely incredible. She absolutely beams through. The weapon is so strong, and all of her perk set really complement that. In that sense, she's an A tier, no doubt, and that is why she is going to fall in this tier list. However, I say if you're going for a sniper playstyle in Strikeout, you do need to be insanely cracked. The skill ceiling is so high. If you were going with sniper with Phantom, I'd say she's more B tier. I think an overall opinion for her is that she's an A tier rogue in a Strikeout sense. You should definitely be picking her up, and if you don't use the Nightshade on her, I would definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Ronin comes up next as another duelist, and what we've seen from the duelists so far is they've been really high up with A and S tier in this tier list. However, Ronin doesn't quite fit the same bill. Ronin's sort of role as a duelist does mean that she has amazing guns. She does have the SLC, which is the best SMG in the game in my opinion, and it absolutely shreds. However, she just doesn't have a lot in terms of a perk set to help with her survivability. She has Replenish, which helps with her ammo, but she doesn't have life drain like so many other duelists or a way of gaining additional health. She does have great grenades and utility to help push other kills in a safer way, but generally I don't think she stacks up as well as other duelists in this game mode. I think she's great for Demolition, as I've always raved about, but I think for Strikeout, she is very good. She has a good weapon set and she's certainly very, very viable, but I'm going to put her down in the B tier compared to the other duelists who I think just do that sort of job a little bit better. Saint comes in next as another supportive rogue, but the difference is he actually has a pretty good weapon set compared to Dahlia in the M4 and Mamba, which just do the job a little bit better. However, I do not think they do the job well enough for strikeout situations. I think other weapons will continue to outgun them, whether it be the Riptide, even the K30, or the SMGs will really put Saint under pressure. Whilst he has a C4 for survivability, I don't think it is enough to really bring him up as a gunplay focused rogue, which means you fall into the supportive role, which again, I think Dahlia just does better currently within the strikeout formula. I think the problem with Saint is that the drone takes too long, and in the fast-paced situation of strikeout, thirsting kills happen so much more often. So if you can't trade the down, you won't be able to get the revive off before your teammate is thirsted. And this means that Saint generally isn't the go-to medic, at least for me, or what I like to have in my team. And so he's going to fall down into the C tier of this tier list. Scorch comes in next as another duelist, and again, she's going to be very high up on this tier list because of that fact. Similar to Ronin, she lacks a fair bit of survivability in terms of gaining additional health back, but the difference is she has much more survivability built into her kit with tenacity, headstrong, and fire immunity from her passive. This means that she's great at having zone control and refusing zone control, whether it be getting grenaded out or incendiary grenaded out. She can hold a position, and then she also has the SLC, which can absolutely beam. Adding to that is her ability Overheat, which makes any weapon deal so much more damage and absolutely turns the tide of a gunfight no matter what. Good Scorches will absolutely be able to burn through enemy teams, and that is what Scorch can do. And I think she's a great rogue for Strikeout because of her survivability and her gunplay focused sort of situation, and therefore she's going to be up in the S tier, joining two other duelists. The new-ish Rogue Seeker is up next, and I actually don't think Seeker is too good in a strikeout sense. He's great in Demolition, the reveal is so nice, and he's not bad in strikeout. His weapon, the Sahara, is a beamer, and if you're good with it, it can be absolutely amazing. It doesn't have such a high ceiling as something like the HRM, but it can still be a little bit difficult to use. He does have life drain, which definitely helps his cause. I just don't think realistically he can bounce through target to target as well. He has very slow reload. That is one of the worst things about him. He doesn't have a way of getting a faster reload from his weapon upgrade or from a perk such as Nimble Hands or Replenish, and that does make him suffer just a little bit, and therefore I'm going to put him down in the B tier as a good rogue to pick up if you like the Sahara, but I don't really think he is that meta currently within Strikeout, where it's so fast paced and so in your face, and I just don't think Seeker is able to combat that as well right now. Sigrid is the next rogue to talk about, and actually in a recent patch she did get a buff so that she has a new perk, Toughen Up, which does reduce melee damage, which is so good for those incoming swords and bats, but also she got life drain as an additional perk, and this has helped her survivability so much, especially in something like Strikeout. She has a great weapon in the D40C should you want to use that, but I personally run the pistol only playstyle, which works for me, but using that shield to absorb damage, using the stim shots to heal up when you do take damage safely behind the shield, and then putting life drain on top of that should you then get the kill, means she's a menace in Strikeout. She's so hard to actually kill due to all these factors, and honestly I think she absolutely can run rampant. I do think she suffers a little bit in the current meta where grenades and incendiary grenades are so common, and therefore she's not going to be all the way up in S tier, but I do think she can still absolutely dominate if you're good with her, if you're mobile, if you know how to use the shield, how to use the stim, and how to be accurate with the warrant, but for those reasons she's going to be up in the A tier. Talon comes in next as just a better version of Glitch. He's the same weapon, he has flashbangs and he's a C4, but the difference with him is that he has that life drain perk to help him. He also has tenacity, which Glitch does have, but that does just help his survivability a little bit more. He also has mag gloves, which in a situation like Strikeout, where you do run out of bullets sometimes, or you may need to reclaim a melee weapon, he is really good at that, and can help you just survive some of the situations using it a little bit more. His ability isn't as particularly useful as it is in something like Demolition, but it isn't bad by any means to watch the flank or put it on the point itself to see who's on it. It's definitely viable, but I don't see the use for it as often as something like in Demolition, where it is so vital for that one kill. However, I still think he's very good. I'm going to put him all the way up into the A tier of this tier list. Trench is next on my list to talk about, and Trench is the only rogue currently with no offensive utility, and honestly I do not think Trench is very good for Strikeout at all. Yes, if you can get the point and hold it, it might be kind of good with the trophies and the barbed wire, but realistically that is not enough to stop the consistent onslaught of people in something like Strikeout, where they always get their gadgets back when they die. And then if you talk about him on the weapon front with the HRM and the MXR, he's really kind of weak with those weapons unless you're very, very good with the HRM, but the MXR is just not very good at the moment. He really does suffer in Strikeout because he's got no aggressive utility. He's purely defensive, and especially when your team are having to be the aggressors onto the site after a respawn, it's not looking very good for him. He's the only rogue I'm going to put down in the D tier of this tier list, as I think not only does he suffer, but he's also not very enjoyable to play in something like Strikeout, as opposed to Demolition, where he can actually be very useful. In Vi, one of my favorite rogues and an absolute beamer with the Nightshade, her utility usage can be so good in Strikeout, and honestly, she can really turn the tides of a battle or hold a point to the annoyance of your enemies. Her zone control is so impactful. However, the one sort of deficit she has compared to the sort of S tier level she's at in Demolition is that her poison, in terms of reducing max health of enemies, doesn't really matter that much because they die and respawn. It doesn't have as long lasting of an impact as Demolition, where that one life matters so much, and so it's not really as impactful, but it's still good, still does help her and still does weaken them for a nice little kill. But she's going to be in the A tier as opposed to the S tier, although she is very much on that line and could go up in the right circumstances. So guys, this is going to be the completed Strikeout tier list of the rogues I think are best in Strikeout. Remember, this is not Demolition focused. I have a tier list for demo if you're interested, but this is going to be the ones for Strikeout, where fragging and outplaying and outpositioning and good utility and survivability is so much more impactful. I wonder what you think of this tier list down in the comments below. Do you agree with my choices? Would you swap any over? Let me know respectfully down in the comments. Okay then guys, that takes us to the end of the video, and if you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You could also come follow me on twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING to see live gameplay commentaries, guides, Q&As, and playing with viewers. All the links you're needed down in the description below, but for now, I hope you have a fantastic day. And remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll catch you in the next video.